We have a very special episode. Jennifer Baxendale and Kirstin Rajala.
You can't bring the people from your past sometimes with you on your future.
Okay.
No, I don't want to.
No, I know.
No, it doesn't. This is life.
29.
And I'm enlightened. Look at me. Yes, it is.
I'm woke. I'm an ally. No, I'm kidding.
Something that drives you to keep going, to, grow it.
But
You know, hot flash.
How are those?
A lot hot, but I'm done now. Now I'm supporting her through those.
Hello, everybody, to all the listeners from 30 plus countries. Welcome back. We're so happy to have you here on the Keeping It Fresh podcast and YouTube channel. Happy New Year and welcome to season 2. Guys,
Season 2.
I know.
Exciting.
We are just so delighted. We have the most incredible woman here today. We have a very special episode. Jennifer Baxendale and Kirstin Rajala are here with us. I feel like, honestly, I do feel like it's an honor to be sitting with you two. More than an honor, it's a privilege. These two women are absolutely incredible. They're storytellers, visionaries, and creators who are redefining what it means to connect, and you're doing it through experience. I know like I'm going pretty intense with this intro here. I know you guys. I want to let everybody know who you guys are. Kirstin Rajala, so sit tight. We're going to jump into the most beautiful combo. Kirstin Rajala, she's a powerhouse entrepreneur, owner of Green Room Inc., a company that specializes in event production and tech-driven storytelling. She led Moxie Productions Inc., which became Canada's largest staffing agency, right? Managing a team of 3,000 ambassadors for iconic campaigns, companies like Coca-Cola, Molson. She's a 3-time RBC Canadian Women Entrepreneur nominee. That's amazing. Wow. And she's a proud single mother who balances it all with grace. Did I miss anything? That's a lot of stuff. Jennifer Baxendale is the managing director at Reef Agency, a master storyteller. I've seen you live. Deep roots in Toronto's creative scene. Her work in experiential marketing has shaped impactful brand narratives across the board, and her personal story is incredible. Jennifer, you've been sober since 2012.
Yes.
And that's a journey that inspires so many people. She's also a devoted mother. And before we get a little bit deeper into this, I want to welcome you to the show. Welcome to Keep It Fresh.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Thank you for traveling. It is minus like 17 outside, so we
Oh, it's that cold?
appreciate
Oh my
you guys
gosh.
coming in on this frigid day. Love it.
So you guys were randomly doing your own thing in life, stars whipping around the universe. And then in 2007, you guys collided. I feel like that must have been divine intervention. But
Is that
how
when you guys met?
Yes.
Okay, roughly.
I sold my first business to the company she worked for.
Okay.
And very quickly we scanned each other up and down and thought, I like the
The
you know,
vibe.
I like
The vibe's
you.
there.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
You'd be fan. We hit it off. And
But
Jen wasn't sober yet. So
Okay.
Jen was a little unreliable. So
A
I
lot.
loved the vibe, but the vibe
Wow.
didn't always show up on time or at all. And so it was hard to maintain a friendship. Yeah, totally.
Wow.
And she got sober and I got Jen. So I got Jen and we are besties and have been ever since.
So interesting. I was thinking about that because obviously when I was looking at the date when you met, I was trying to figure out how you both aligned. So when she was in that space, sorry, Jen, for throwing in the limelight.
No, I love to talk
Where
about
you just saw something past that, like she was unreliable, but you thought, you know what, there's something here, and I just want to continue this.
Oh, no,
relationship.
we didn't maintain much
Okay.
contact during
Okay.
that time.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
we were like, oh, this could be such a great friendship, but it wasn't the right time because she was,
out of control.
okay, she said
Hey,
it.
at least you're honest about it, right?
You know, it was crazy time, and I definitely thought that Kirstin was like so cool and like had so much that I could have probably learned from her if I wasn't focused on other things at the time. So we were like in each other's peripheral still. I feel like it was never like a rupture or like that we didn't like each other. It was just like not the time. And then yeah, when I got sober, which was actually before 2012. 2012 is when it stuck, but I had a few stop starts there.
Yeah.
I had confided in her. I guess like she was one of the first people that I told, like being like, hey, I'm trying to like get clean. And now I'm like, it was crazy. And she's always been super supportive of that, which is massive because sometimes when you're like changing your life in such a dramatic way, which it was for me, it's really hard because the friendships that I had kind of fell away a little bit.
Yep.
Or I needed to change where I was going. And so it was good to have like a safe friend. And we traveled together a lot too, which was also really great. I think probably one of my first sober trips was with you. I think we went to Miami.
You have to surround yourself with people who you want to be with, be alike, right? You can't bring the people from your past sometimes with you on your future, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I always tell people when they ask me about that, I'm like, it's not forever. It's not necessarily like the initial massive change usually creates a, distance from who you were hanging out with, but there's the opportunity to come back, right? So like once I got, my bearings and I was a little more grounded, there are some of those friendships that weren't there that now are back. And so that's beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And also there's
That's amazing. Good for you.
some changes that needed to happen.
Yeah.
Right? There's also like people that, it's just it was what it was at that time.
How hard was that? Like the people that you did need to cut off at the time, in order to kind of make it to the next level. How did that kind of feel?
I sometimes talk about this because it's like there's a grieving process, right? When you make something a priority, as is the case with like addiction, I had to grieve that loss. But then there's this piece where it's like some of what I thought I was experiencing wasn't actually real, right? Because I was like, oh, these are my best friends. Like if I get married, they're going to be there. And then as I changed my lifestyle and changed, my goals and what I was heading towards, a lot of those people fell away. And so reconciling, oh, wait, like maybe you weren't that close. Like maybe it really was a lot of that lifestyle and the choices I was making at the time. So it was challenging. Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
I feel like we're all constantly making those changes in our life, and that it takes a lot of energy, I feel, and that's why we sometimes say it's hard, but it is a lot of energy. It's almost doing a quantum leap from where you are to another state. But that's amazing. Once you get out of it, then I love that you can actually go back in this new from this new space that you're in and enter back in. I really like that.
Mhm.
Do you know who Michael Singer is? Untethered Soul?
Yeah.
He actually talks about this premise. He's like, when you're trying to better your life and doing certain things, when you're on this journey, he's like, sometimes it's easier to do it outside of the situation because it's harder to do it from within. He's like, you'd have to be a complete yogi to be able to do it from within, but he's like, a lot of people can't. Then eventually you can reintroduce yourself back in, which I thought was a beautiful
Totally
premise.
believe in that. It's so it's like you don't need to get into this finality of it done. You're never back there. Like I'm never, for me, I was like, oh, I guess I'm never having fun again, which was actually the complete opposite. But I really did at one point think like, wow, there goes life.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
So on one of these trips that you were on, you ended up going out to New York together, right?
Yes, and there's more of an origin story
Okay,
to
yeah,
our New
like-
York trip.
Yeah.
As we've aged, or as we like to do,
Yeah.
as we look for things to do,
Yeah.
we weren't finding a lot that appealed to anyone over a certain age.
Yeah.
So that was a desire we had, just to find programming and things to do that would appeal to us. You found an event that was in New York that coincided with a trip we were taking.
Okay.
I don't remember why we went. Did we go see Neil Brennan or something? We went to a comedy
Maybe,
show.
yeah.
We go to New York for
Yeah.
comedy, but and yes, you brought us to this event
Yeah.
called Generation Wwomen,
Yeah.
started by a woman named Georgia, who is an Australian living in Brooklyn.
Okay.
She's married. Her and her wife and their child live there, and she has this event, and it's a monthly series in New York City.
Oh wow.
And we attended the event, and it was probably how you felt when you came to ours. It was so powerful. It was like a
Unbelievable.
hug in the room.
Yeah.
And the premise being that 6 women will tell a story on a shared theme. One woman is in her 20s, one in her 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, or 70s plus.
Okay.
In this case, with the one we went to in New York, there's a woman in her 80s, and she was probably 4'11"
Yeah.
with a little beret, and she talked all about this time in her 20s in Paris at some crazy Eyes Wide Shut party.
Showerty. Yeah. And her name's Diane. And she's actually, if you look her up, she's one of the oldest stand-up comedians. She just received that award, and she's been on some of the late night shows recently. It was team, we call Team 70s the stopping pot, but it's Team 70s plus. So she was at her 80s, I think, at the time,
Yeah.
and she had the ukulele. That's right. Remember, she strummed on it and like sang this song about this orgy she was in. She was a gay Karis, and we loved it, right?
Yeah.
The piece, and it's great that we're already talking about my lovely addiction story, but when I got sober, so many women helped me. They were 17, they were 70, they were everything in between. And they helped me by telling me their stories about recovery, addiction, sobriety, how they were living life sober, how they got sober, all of these stories essentially. And so when I heard about Gen Women, I was like, "Oh my God, this is it. This is just what I'm getting in my recovery spaces, except for like the general pop."
Yeah.
And so I said, "We got to go to the show.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send her an email." We had already talked to Georgia ahead of time. I had reached out just like a cold call email. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm in Toronto, Canada. Yeah, I think that I want to bring this to Canada. And she was like, "Okay." I'm like, "We're gonna come and see it."
How big is the show? Like in New York, how many attendees were there?
100, 150?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. They're like comedy club style venues.
Yep.
And it's such a healing experience. You just never know what's going to come out of somebody's mouth. The way they're telling the story
Yeah.
with the sass, with the this. There's a weird laugh, somebody laughs or somebody cries, and it's like a healing experience.
And most importantly, they're not, she was a comedian, but they're not professionals.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, we might ask you. Like, we are always looking for people who may connect to one of the themes and just have a story to tell
Is it themed like per
show. That's
per
right.
show?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
The big thing that you guys were saying is as women age, their stories start to get shunned or they're not,
I don't even think
cited
they're
as
brought
much.
in.
They're
It's
not.
not even like it's a shun. It's like they're not even included in the conversation. And I find that more in North American culture, I think. A lot of other cultures definitely respect their elders and look to their elders for advice. That is not really the case here. And also here looking to the youth, right? There's this separation almost where it's like, these guys don't know anything, like, "Ugh," and why would she know something? She's like 70, but it's like, no.
It's like all these 17-year-old techies and then the old age. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was for me the blind spot and why I was so invested in it was like here I was changing my whole life with the support of all these other women's stories of all ages. And I wanted other people to have that. And we had always wanted to do something together. While we did work together briefly, we had been looking for like, what could we do? We had all sorts of ideas that we tossed around over the years, and eventually, this is where we landed. And so far, it's been so.
How long has it been here now? Because you said you reached out to her, said you wanted to bring it to.
oh, we signed that contract in February of 2020.
Oh wow.
Right before the pandemic. we were in New York and like, oh, there's a cold going around.
Actually the end of February, and we were like, people are talking about some virus. Like, you remember New York
Yeah.
in March, the beginning of March. It was bad.
I was in Australia actually. I was traveling and we were in the grocery store just getting food and there was like no toilet paper. And we're like, what the hell is going on?
Tom Hanks took it all. And now we shouldn't have been able to come back into Canada. It was February 20th.
Especially from New York. Yeah, that was like ground zero for the States.
Yeah. So we sat on it for a year and a half.
Yeah.
But we just in November had our 2-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
See, that's great.
That's fun.
And do you do a show every month?
Seasonally.
See, okay, so like quarterly. That's
Not
right.
sure per year. Last year we did do a bonus one around Truth and Reconciliation, which was amazing. We did that with Chelsea Petit, one of our
Team 20s.
she was one of our team 20s at one of our first shows. She runs an Indigenous streetwear brand in Toronto called Ani, which is now like big shout out to her. She's now just opened an all Indigenous department store in the Eating Center.
Well,
And so she had approached us. I know, it's amazing. We're so proud of her. She's now team 30s, but she had approached us being like, let's do like an all Indigenous matriarch wisdom sharing one. So that was our first collab. And again, because Kirstin and I have other jobs, like to have like the day jobs. This is really a passion project. So to allow that community collaboration to come to fruition was amazing is the first one. And we actually already have 2 more lined up for 2025.
That's
You know, could
awesome.
you imagine doing a full Indian one? That would be really interesting.
could.
Yeah, like
I'm like, I
older
can't
Indian
imagine
woman
that.
like my mom, and then hearing
Those would
stories
be
from
some
the
serious stories.
those would be
But
some
seriously, you
serious.
do need a Team 70s plus coming up. So
Yeah.
you sound like you just volunteered a family member.
He's here though. That was
Well,
smart. We are
yeah.
doing our
You know a lot of people.
Okay, well, I'll
Yeah.
get you some people for
Thank
your
you.
show. I have a question for you. You've obviously been in the business space. You guys were just saying this is your passion project, but how has it been being a female in that space? Like with this show, the big question I have is why do you think society places less emphasis on women's stories? But how has it been in the business space and climbing through some of those hoops that you had to go through?
That's a really big question.
That's
I know.
me. That's
That's
me.
me.
I'm so sorry.
I'm surprised he just asked one question because usually he asks like 8 questions in one question. Amazing.
So sorry.
Interviewing the one of our.
Not remember any but the first.
No. Hashtag aging. I can speak to my experience only. The work that I do, we often are working with in the tech industry.
Yeah.
And with a lot of creative technology. And that is something that is less traversed by women. So there are specific instances where my knowledge has been dismissed because no one can imagine that a female would know about LED video walls, for example.
Wow.
And I've been called to task in front of clients as if it's a test and I might not know the answer.
My goodness.
And then you wow them with your
100%.
beautiful brain and they look stupid because they think you're stupid.
They do look stupid. Although there are some folks out there that can't get past that. In one case, I had to bring in a male colleague and just you just got to have a seat at the table because this
Wow.
person won't hear it. So it's still there.
Yeah.
I don't take that personally.
Mhm.
It has nothing to do with me.
Yes, why you don't take it personally? Because it's obviously an issue with the perception of you as a woman and your knowledge. So why don't you take that personally?
2 reasons. 1, I can't control it.
Of course.
2,
I love that.
that's them.
That's what I was gonna say.
Right? Like that's their issue.
Yeah.
It could be me they're talking to. It could be you they're talking to. It could be another woman. I'm actually irrelevant in that. I'm just almost collateral damage to their way of thinking.
Okay.
I love that
Love
mindset.
that way of thinking.
Yeah.
But
And
then
I got an article written about.
sorry, go ahead.
There's an article on Medium where I got really mad. By the way, I still got very mad, very heated. And so I wrote 5 ways, like women working in a male-dominated industry, and I was like, publish this.
Yeah.
So that's out there. So there are ways that I'm
Yeah.
reacting to
Yeah,
it, but
yeah.
I'm not,
yeah.
It's a waste of
boohoo.
energy.
Yeah.
It's like it's their
Yeah.
shit.
But
It's
if it's
Yeah.
like, how do I put this in a simplified question? If it's something to benefit you and your business and your what you're doing, but they're not taking you seriously, does that put a fire in your belly to
Yes.
Because
prove
you
them
know
wrong?
who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the most satisfying thing is just doing the work and then quietly letting them see that you knew what you were doing the whole time.
Yeah.
And also I think there's a confidence in that the right people know who you are, what your skills are. So whether on that call that person is in ignorance, I am resting assured that other people in the call are all recognizing that on my
Yes.
behalf also.
Yeah.
We may never speak about it,
Yeah. But it's
there's-
known. Yeah.
it's known.
It's like a
Yeah.
silent acknowledgement.
We're all embarrassed for him.
Yeah.
I'm like, get you on a stage, Kirstin. I mean, running back and forth right now. I'm like, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really powerful. That's an
That's
incredible insight.
Yeah. Like that definitely comes with age. That
That
kind of
happens to me all the
confidence.
time.
Yeah.
Just ballpark. How old do you think I am?
I love this.
33?
32.
Wow, bang on.
Oh, nice.
Bang on. Okay, so-
33?
yeah, no one ever gets that. When I was let's say 28, 29 and in the beginning of my real estate career, nobody took me
Right back
seriously.
at you. Guess our ages. Or have you done research?
No, I have, but I have not looked at ages.
Okay.
My heart.
No,
I don't want
No, I know.
No, it doesn't. This is life.
29.
That's why we love you.
And edge when it comes to this, because you guys are literally doing
Are
these
you
shows.
guessing that for both?
I'm gonna say 45 and 39.
Okay, here's the thing. I
40?
used to know how old you were for some reason. I don't know off the top of my head right now. I would say you're team 30s.
Wrong, T40s.
You're team 40s. So you just crossed to the 40s.
41, I'll be 42 next year.
Wow, okay. We have a
I
large
would say
gap in our age, by the way.
I was going to say early 40s as well.
I'm 48. I'll be 49 in April.
You look great.
Oh, you guys both look amazing for your age.
I'd say 42, 43.
We love Max. I was like, where
I like entering the 40s was amazing. I'm excited for 50. The
Yeah.
barren field of the fucks I give is vast. It's fantastic.
Oh my
And
God.
apparently at 50, I'm going to unlock a new level and it's going to be even better.
And that's what our storytellers tell us all the time. They take us on the journey of like watching, teen 20s that is just like vibrant, innocent, a little naive. We love them, but like there's an endearing quality because you identify, right? You're
Yeah.
oh, I remember.
Yeah.
And then you start to see it, right? Starting in 40s, they're like feet planted, 50s, yes. And by the time you hit the 70s, like they're just so unapologetically themselves.
Tell-
And it has even
I want to play one of these events.
sometimes you have to come.
Yeah.
So oftentimes, sometimes Team 70s will like call me a week before the show and be like, hey, yeah, I'm not gonna make it.
Mm.
No apology, no explanation. And I want to be angry, but there's a part of me that goes, that's the dream, right? Because how often are you going, oh, like I really want to be there, but I can't do this, or giving the
I've got kids. It's nap time.
just I'm not going to be there.
The yes,
It's like, no is a full stop, a full answer, right? It's like so infrequently are women taught that. And so it's actually rather inspiring and something to look forward to.
The cool thing, because I've only been to one of the shows, when you hear the 20s and the 30s, it's such an incredible performance of storytelling in that space. And you're like, wow. But you can see how much effort they put into their story. And you're like, this is amazing. Nobody can top this 20-year-old and 30-year-old. Nobody can top this person.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, you get into the 60s and 70s, and you're just like, oh my goodness, I am so attracted to this human being because there's so much authenticity
Yep.
and realness. I feel like you answered the question. Right now, we're talking about.
We're answering all the questions
Yeah.
we have. This is amazing.
I was gonna ask, how does Generation Women redefine what it means to age gracefully? What does that look like to you, just beyond a phrase? I feel like we just touched up on all of
Yeah,
that.
Absolutely. I
Um,
will add, we have some mandates within Generation Women. One is we will always commit to a diverse lineup.
Okay.
That is very important to us. The second is, and this is part of my day job mandate as well, is we want it to be as accessible as possible. So we always have sign language interpretation at our events.
Oh, cool.
And everything that we do through the experience design is meant to be as inclusive as possible. So those are two things that we will not be challenged on. I'll fight you in an alley on both of those.
Yeah.
And
I'll have her back.
yeah, that's right. So those are very important. So outside of just, women's voices, and when we say women, we're defining that also as someone who identifies as a woman.
Yeah, as well as non-binary. We have included non-binary people as well, and that's been
Have you, it's not even a question on here, but like, have you had any backlash because it's called Generational Women?
Generation Women.
Generation Women?
No, I don't think so. I think actually the biggest hurdle that we climb there with the naming convention is just that men think that they're not invited. Or absolutely there. It's not some like, I don't know. There's just like
It's not like your girl power type.
It's a great place for men to be. I was like,
It is, actually.
Hello, ladies. Ever?
Yeah, and I'm enlightened. Look at me. Yes, it is.
I'm woke. I'm an ally. No, I'm kidding. I actually.
and it's actually the men that have attended tend to have the experience like what Jen is describing. Yeah. Really like holy like a better understanding. My dad comes to every show and he's always like, I understand women so much better after attending these. He's got 2 daughters, myself and my sister. And that's like a beautiful thing, right? So often I hear these stories that are true about, the female experience in the world. And this is more like just like everyday stories about life. And I think that everyone can identify. It doesn't matter, what gender or how you
Can you run through, sorry if I'm just like my mind's going
Oh
now.
no, go.
Can you run through how a show works? Because from what I'm understanding, I've never heard of this until we were going to bring you on the podcast. How does it work? What is the theme if you have the 20s, 30s, 40s, all the way up? How do you make a theme and what do people talk about?
We discuss themes in general. The New York show, which has been in existence a little bit longer, has a great roster of themes.
Okay.
So sometimes what we'll do is pick one. We may tweak it a bit so that it sounds, Canadianized, to be honest, and that it sounds like authentic to us. And we, along with a small group of people, so it's not just our own vacuum, think about seasonally which themes make sense,
Yep.
which ones we think may land the most, which ones have the broadest appeal. Jen works with all of the performers, so I've not heard their story until the night they perform it. So she's the only person who's heard it. And when we are looking for performers, she'll share the list of upcoming themes because they may not connect to the immediate next show.
Yeah.
And so they'll be honest about that. They're personal stories, which we always tell them to when they're nervous. We're like, you can't fuck this up. You're just telling us a story that only you know.
Yeah.
And they have about 7, 8, 9 minutes. She may give them a little bit of coaching just to make sure that, when you're telling your own story, sometimes you'll go down a rabbit hole just to keep them on track. But we don't prescribe anything, and not to disparage, Ted, but we don't want them to all sound the same. We're very intentional that they all sound like themselves. The themes themselves, they run the gamut. I mean, anything from bodies to, promises made, promises broken was one. Bucket list. The one coming up is being my own damn hero. And importantly, performer can interpret it any way they want.
Yeah.
So that you get a very diverse amount of stories that are only linked by this one single thread, but that all are connected by it, but take you on a very different journey.
And is it like a panel, kind of like, or did they go up
We all sit
individually?
on the stage together as like with the intention of backing each other up, right? Supporting. So we go from 20s to 70s, and we do have an intermission in between. So we join the stage, and then they come up. Team 20s tells their story, and then all the way down. And
Wow.
Yeah.
and I'm the host too. I don't know if we mentioned that. So
No.
which is not anything I would ever do. Even this is a bit nerve-wracking for me.
I was blown away by your hosting. I was like, I want to record this. You're so good at bringing people up and just creating such a beautiful culture in that space. And it's so visceral. Everything
it's
you
not-
feel, it's like you feel it.
Yeah. And that's why we decided on me being the host, was because of that backstory of me and my sobriety. I am really aligned with this as something that I think everyone could benefit from. And so my passion for the project, I think, does shine through, and just the connecting with all of the women and a lot. That's been an amazing journey too.
And I hate being on stage in front of a crowd, so I am always at
So
the
let's
side of the
record you on the
stage.
podcast and put you all over social media.
I'm at the side of the stage producing
podcast. She's on lots of podcasts for SNL, but it's more just like the stage presence. It's like, which I'm not really either. I'm a more behind the scenes, but in this case, I'm like,
so passionate.
You're so good.
Yeah.
And she's the funniest person I know.
Oh my gosh, it's hilarious.
I know you guys were really empowered when you guys went to your first show, which inspired you to bring it to Canada. Can you walk us through some of the feedback that you've gotten from the shows, and is that something that drives you to keep going to, grow it larger?
yes.
Yes. Again, we have busy lives, but you make time for what you care about.
Yeah.
And so as busy as we are, you find that extra half hour to create some social media posts. You find that extra half hour to, contact people for something or other. It's kind of non-negotiable for me because we believe so much in it that you just do it, right? As Jen mentioned, some of the males that have attended have given us the most affirming feedback that someone said it changed their life.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
yeah. I think a lot of people want to connect with someone in their life that they maybe haven't felt they've talked to or connected to or listened to a lot, often older people.
Mm-hmm.
some of the performers we've had, and certainly that woman Diane, I could be on the subway beside her and she would be just an old lady to me, which
Yeah.
is actually horrible.
Yeah.
Right.
So it really pauses your thinking to say, I need to engage more people of all ages. Why do we dismiss them?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
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 When does that start?
And like some of the stories are like really great at breaking down those like judgments or those like initial responses, right? We've had women who have like autoimmune disorders or who have different disabilities that aren't necessarily forward presenting. And so it really almost like is a mind bend where you go, oh, like I need to like really, like you said, converse with other people and be like,
Yeah.
hey, like what's going on with you? And have age not be relevant at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've almost lost the art of conversing with people, connecting with people, especially COVID happened. But even before that, we were on that track.
Yeah.
So this space, when you walk in, it's going back to the grassroots. You're truly like I said, you're redefining the art of connection, but through these experiences, these stories, and then feeling safe to talk to people about them.
Yep.
We're so scared that like, oh my gosh, I don't want to enter this person's space because of everything that we've been kind of programmed for the last few years. But people need that.
Yeah.
People want to talk to you,
That's
right?
right. That's why the design of the physical space is all lining up to that. As Jen mentioned, all of the performers sit on stage in this kind of half circle so that it's a campfire of sorts and that they are
Yeah.
literally behind the person who is speaking, and we encourage them to high five and hug and swear and do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And then the audience is seated kind of comedy club style at tables and chairs. So it's not just, beside each other. There's
Like an
like
auditorium.
exactly. Like these are all very intentional choices
Is
that
it
we've made.
Is it very specific to the way you guys wanted it to be?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's all.
honestly, when you walk in this,
Is
you're
that the same
literally walking
venue
into their
every
brain.
time?
It's amazing, guys. It's
Where?
where
Lounge at Live Nation.
Yeah.
In Liberty Village.
In Liberty Village.
Yeah.
Okay.
We added recently a pop-up marketplace, and this was purely to support other female-owned businesses. So we invite makers, creators, small businesses that
Sometimes even our performers have
Yeah.
offerings. Yeah, we invite them as long as it's not them doing the selling.
Yeah.
Is to come in and be a part of it. It's just like an added bonus, and we don't charge them, which is also just fun. It's just like something.
Yeah.
we don't make money off that. We'd rather
Yeah.
have
Do
the
you have
opportunity.
for this event to run the way it's running?
hmm
Is there a capacity of the amount of people that
At that venue, there is. Yeah. It's not a conventional event venue in the city. It's actually the in-house performance space of the Live Nation offices. And their capacity is 125. Yeah.
And you sell tickets to the show?
We do.
Okay.
Awesome. GenerationWomen.ca. I know at Bragg.
All right, we are gonna plug you guys everywhere.
Brag.
You have all the information.
And you have YouTube, like an Instagram and
We do,
all
yeah.
that for this? Okay.
Okay, so let's say somebody's watching right now. Would you have any advice to somebody a woman that's interested in sharing their story? Would they reach out to you, Jen, or would they?
Yeah.
But let's say they're nervous, that they feel like they don't have a story, that their sound isn't worthy, because a lot of people feel that.
100%.
Do you have people like that coming to you?
Yeah.
And where you coach?
I don't know that they come to me, but I go to them, right? So and it absolutely happens more so in the older set where they're like, nobody wants to hear from me.
Yeah.
Like, no, that is right there is the problem. That's why I need you to come, is because you think that. And that's absolutely incorrect. And you are actually the most powerful person on the stage because you take us there, you give hope, you inspire, and you know who you are. I think that's like such a massive thing when we get to the older generation on the stage, is like they are just like they're themselves.
Yeah.
And it really is a hopeful experience, even if they're talking about something that was like really hard for them or challenging. It inspires you to be like, look at this person, and even to be able to get over the fear of public speaking, right? We've had people come who were like, I've never done this. Like even Chelsea, who I mentioned before, she went on later to pitch on the Bears Lair, which is the indigenous version of Dragon's Den.
Yeah.
And she won $100,000. And she had never really spoken in public other than when we brought her in. That's kind of why she wanted to come back to us, was like, I don't know that I would have done that if you guys hadn't have done that.
Wow.
And that is like, that's what we want to do.
It's a really safe space. If
Yeah.
someone wanted to try performing or speaking in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
Because
This
you say
is
performing, it almost sounds like they're getting up and standing with a mic by themselves. But the fact that they're on a stage with everybody probably makes them feel much more comfortable and
yes.
nurtured
Yeah.
by people that are around them.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say the 50s and 60s and 70s. You have to think when 50 years ago, when that person who was 70 is whatever 30 or
Yeah.
20,
Yeah.
like how society was back then, how the way of thinking, how men looked at women back then. Oh, I want to hear these stories so bad.
You'll hear it.
Yeah.
One
Like,
of
it's
the
wild.
recent storytellers talked about she was a journalist, and one of the first things she reported on was John Lennon's assassination. She was on there, and she also did one of the first articles on Elvis or something. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
McLean's award winning.
That's right.
Yeah.
Where do you
That's
find
right.
these women? All over the place.
Yeah. We have a wish list. That
Do you
we
just like
started.
meet someone at a coffee shop and be like,
Yes.
hey?
So I just recently picked up Teen 20s for January's show at the Nadej Bakery.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, hey, I really trust like energy, and I
Yes.
felt this like weird thing that was happening. And I'm like, hey. Like I full on was like, hey, what do you like do? And
What are you doing January 27th?
she was like
7 p.m.
and then it turned out like in her story, which will come out, is she's like been on her own for like many, many years. She's actually she's 19. So she's our teen 20s, but she's 19.
I love that.
And she's got like an amazing story, and she had me in tears on the phone.
Wow.
And she was like, I feel like this was like I was meant to meet you, that I meant to share this story. I've never done it before. And this is going to be really healing for me. And I was, yeah, like that's the best part of
That's
what we're
amazing.
doing, I think. Yeah, but so sometimes it's a coffee shop. Sometimes there's people that we go after, just like cold call emailing. Hey, we love what you're doing in this space.
Jeannie Becker, we want you. Lisa LaFlamme, we
Yeah.
want you.
Name them all.
Yeah, all these people. Yeah, there's a long list.
Master
Okay.
list that we are always adding to. We read a ton. So if we, see it in the Globe or, something in Toronto Life, we'll like just throw them in the list, try to find their age so that we're doing, having an idea, because there is a bit of math to it. I can't just call in 6 people, right? I had to actually be like, okay, so I have team 30s, and then we obviously are trying to maintain our diversity as well. So there is a little bit of Tetris to it.
Do you think you'll get to a monthly show eventually?
I mean, we would love to. Toronto's population density is not the same as New York. New York can do that because there are so many people there.
Yeah.
So it would be great. I just don't know if the demand is there. The
Yeah.
events industry in Toronto right now, it's not fantastic.
Yeah.
We've heard that from a lot of people that, you're not selling out in the first 2 weeks. Like
Yeah.
you are really
Yeah.
needing people to support
Yeah.
and buy tickets. That is just so important quite frankly, put your money where your mouth is. If you say that you support women's voices,
Yeah.
then buy a ticket to a show and trust us, you will get so much value out of that experience and enjoy it so much. And it's important not just to us, but to all of the people that are going to get up on stage.
Yeah.
So possibly.
Yep.
I think the collaborations, though, right now are really the way we want to go, and potentially looking at other areas of Canada as well.
Oh,
2025, we're going to do a show in Calgary, and I'll go out there and host it for that one. And that'll be our first like step out of Toronto, and we'll see. People have approached us though. There have been like emails that come through the website just being like, hey, we heard about what you're doing. I love it. Would you ever bring it to Montreal, or would you be in Vancouver, etc.?
I think it's so cool, and I'm sure you guys have had experiences like this, but taking that example that you met that woman at the bakery that's team 20s that's been on her own for a while. If she comes to your show and shares her story, there could be potentially someone that's maybe team 40s that might have gone through the same experience that she wouldn't have connected with otherwise if it wasn't for you two bringing them together.
It's a camaraderie between the cohort, as I call it,
Yeah.
which is like the group of the 6 people who share, that is also incredibly beautiful. That happens half the time. I'm not even aware of it.
Yes.
At the end, we thank them and we connect them over email. But then they'll come back and be like, oh yeah, like I went and had lunch with her, or I saw Anne, or that's awesome. That is amazing. Again, going back to that like community.
Yeah.
It is about storytelling 100%, but what storytelling does.
Yeah.
Right. Which is creates the connection, creates community, creates an understanding of like, oh, we're not that different.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's our biggest goal. And, Kay mentioned it briefly there, but like there's a gap in our ages. Right. And so there were times where that was like bigger. Right now, I would say it's not that big of a gap. Right. But
Get up for hot flash.
How are those?
A lot hot, but I'm done now. Now I'm supporting her through those. Yes.
Yep. Whatever.
Wow.
Well, let's talk about, because we are nearing the end of our show. So let's talk about the show in January. What is the topic, and when, and like what date and time, and
So it's Thursday, January 23rd at the Lounge at Live Nation, which is in Liberty Village. Lots of parking, totally accessible. So if you need access, we have an elevator as well. The theme is being my own damn hero. And it's always an exciting January show because I think the energy of the new year, although I don't necessarily prescribe to the January New Year resolution situation, a lot of other people do.
but the topic of be your own damn hero, that's a heavy title in itself, right? So you can only imagine the stories that you'll hear at that event.
Stories of guts and grit. That's your little
That's right.
tagline after. I do have another question for you both. This sounds amazing. I've been to the event. It looks incredible. But you obviously have to have, and this is what we love to kind of talk about sometimes, the habits that you guys must have to be able to wake up and do this at a high level. Because I know when I'm at the event, you're running around but making it look so graceful. But like, do you wake up at like 4 a.m. and sleep? What's your situation?
Because you said you have real
Kirstin?
jobs.
And you're both mothers,
Yeah.
and you have regular jobs, your primary jobs, and now you're putting on this massive production. How do you do it? Where do you get your energy from? Are you just really good at doing life?
Do you see what I mean about eight questions in one?
Like, the question to you is, are you just incredible with your habits, with your discipline, do you schedule? Do you have a calendar? Like, how do you do everything, both of you? And
He's way better at scheduling.
I love a schedule.
I had Eric.
Love it.
Be just.
No, that's you're leaving her house today. She said to me, my travel's always in orange in my calendar.
Because Jen blocked her outlook. She blocked her outlook from noon till 2. So at 11:30, she's like, we gotta go.
Yeah.
And I was like, it starts at 1.
As I put the travel in together.
I said, you have to do, the
Oh, your
booking is 1 to
travel.
2, the travel is 12 to 1, different color codes, however you want to do it.
Back on one day just to do a calendar talk. Thank you. Calendar talk.
And I color code.
I color code, and
Yeah.
that's all
Personal is purple. No?
right.
Yeah.
So at a
she's
glance.
training me. She's far, far more organized than me.
A lot of it is because the people on my team need to know when they can reach me, so they have access to my calendar, so I live by it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything's in there. And it's just how I manage
Mm.
my life. I think as you age, you start to lose your memory. So if I don't write it down, it's gone. So I just write everything down.
Is there a secondary tool that you use? Calendar.
Yes.
What's the secondary?
Well, she's
I
got
will-
old school.
Planner?
I have a planner.
Oh, me too. They all make fun of me for it.
Every Sunday, I sit down and I put my whole week out
That's it.
there. And it
Okay.
has everything like, don't forget you're doing laundry because on your need Friday, you're going to travel. So you got to have your stuff. Like everything's in there. And it sounds like more than
Like
it is.
OCD.
It does, but
Yeah.
it's not. It's just a really nice way to take all of those things that are going to bounce around in your head that will wake you up at 4 a.m. and
Ooh.
write them down so that my mind is free.
And she's coaching me on that right now because you mentioned me being at Reef, which I was at Reef for 18 years, but I'm actually not there anymore. So as of the beginning of this year, I actually took a step back from there, and now I'm self-employed, and that's crazy, right? Now you guys know you're in the RSA, there's a lot happening, and so I had a really rude awakening of like, whoa, like it's hard to do all of these things, and I said to her like, I don't know how to do this. I need your itinerary. So I bought a planner as well. And that's so
Same. I was thinking of the planner.
we have this plan.
Yeah. What's the planner? Cute. It's from a Montreal-based company called W. Maxwell, and it's this beautiful blue and orange planner. It's big. All the days, all the notes. We'll send you that.
Maxwell.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the other thing is we do have our own status call every 2 weeks, and there are times that we did this last time. We looked at the to-do list. I was like, I haven't done shit on this.
Yeah, no, didn't do it.
Didn't do it. Didn't do it. And
No.
that there's a transparency and an openness
Okay.
that
Yeah.
I didn't do any of this,
Yeah.
right?
And an understanding that
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
are busy and stuff
Yeah.
comes up, and that we would do that 4 in the morning. Like if it got down to it and we were like, oh, like we're on the runway and we haven't done all the things, I guess we're doing a late night, like we're going to get it done. But our ideal way is to be organized in that way. But sometimes, life
happens.
happens. And so I'm accepting that.
And we've been in the event business for decades.
Yeah.
So doing an event like that is like planning a birthday party. It's like eating ice cream. It's fun and easy,
Yeah.
right?
Been through an event at Disney World once. So
Wow.
I got to rent Epcot for 4,000 people.
Wine wasn't, so storytelling night is not really,
Yeah, we need to have you both on over and over for the
Yeah.
next
So we're
couple
gonna have you
seasons.
back because we're way over our
Yeah,
time.
but we do want to do a fun little thing.
We do rapid fire
Yeah.
at the end.
Okay.
So answer this in one sentence or one word, if you can. But you each have to
Straight out of
answer.
the subconscious.
Okay, Ian, you're up first.
What is one movie you think everyone should watch, or your favorite movie?
How to Make an American Quilt.
That's a movie.
It's a movie, Winona Ryder. It is a beautiful movie about, this is amazing, this segue, storytelling. It's like 5 different women sharing a story about love and relationships.
So what are you called?
How to Make an American Quilt as they build this quilt for a young Winona Ryder as she gets ready to get married. It's beautiful. Maya Angelou's in it.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
I gave you lots of time. I
I know,
rambled.
I
I
know.
saw your face. I tried to ramble.
Yeah. If you're not a movie person, that's fine.
I like 80s movies.
It's okay.
That's cool.
Sure, but I can't name one.
That's
Girls just
fine.
want to have fun. Sarah Jessica Parker
Love it.
wants to be on dance TV. Such a stupid answer.
It's okay.
Such a stupid answer.
You can repeat yourself. What's one book you're reading right now or a book that you believe everybody should read?
Oh, geez. So you realize that we're very into books. We have all tattoos.
I did not even notice that.
And what's that?
I have a book club.
You do?
I do.
See, I did a silent book club once, so because I don't like talking about the books, but I would like to read in company.
Yeah.
So I would do that.
I would say that
Beautiful
we
tattoos.
both have the same favorite book. She's just forgetting about it. So it's Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed. So Cheryl Strayed wrote Wild, but a long time ago she was an advice columnist called Dear Sugar.
Okay.
And it was anonymous, and she had absolutely no credentials for giving advice, and yet it's fantastic. And so this book is a collection of her advice. And actually Hulu did make it into a TV series.
Okay.
Oh.
But that book is like, I gifted to everyone. She introduced it to me.
Wow.
But it's really a fantastic read. We've gifted it to our storytellers before that have come on. Like it's just a collection of like really frank, direct, some swearing advice, but really how we operate too. So I'm like, yes, definitely.
You're just going to continue to answer for me. You're absolutely right that that's my favorite. Yeah. And do you see how I just go blank?
Yeah. Okay, this one's easy though. This one's easy. Coffee or tea?
Earl Grey tea, IV drip.
Okay, absolutely right. And I'm coffee. I was actually thinking how cute we were. We were at the Starbucks drive-thru on our way here, and I ordered for her. I was like, okay, I'll get a venti Earl Grey tea, fun bag in one on the side, and can I get some honey on the side?
So funny.
And that's
the order.
100%.
Wow.
Wow, we're cute.
Sorry. Now I know. Yeah, that is. I love how when you were telling me about your relationship, you're like platonic life partners.
That's where
Yeah.
we have traveled. We went to Portugal. We're getting ready to go to London, and we're an excellent balance.
I love it.
Kirstin's the badass in the business world, so she handles paying for me. And I handle planning and making sure she eats.
Yeah.
Good.
And you have a lot of other things that you bring to the table as well. But oh yeah, Alex, are you out? Or yeah, you're
no,
out.
Ian.
Early bird or night owl?
Not a night owl, that's for sure. I say probably early bird.
Early bird?
Yeah, I turn into a pumpkin at 10 for sure.
What time do you wake up in the morning?
7:30?
Okay.
Yeah, between 7 and 8.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I'm actually like truly both. I'm
Okay.
kind of like, if I know I'm going out and, we're going to be out late, totally fine. If I know I'm getting up early, it's a mindset thing for me where I'm like, okay, I made the decision. I was out till 2 a.m. last night. Fine. I had fun. It was worth it. I'm not getting up.
Yeah.
No, I need to be put
I did it at 5.
in my body.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get into that space.
Yeah.
2 more questions. Just finish the sentence. Life is blank. What's the fill in the blank?
Art.
Life is art. Life is
beautiful. It's
Mm,
beautiful right now.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Okay, last question. What's one thing you can't live without?
It's hard to nail down one thing.
And it can't be your planner.
No, I mean, I want to say books. I want to say crafts. I want to say all the things.
Creativity. I
Yeah,
can't live with
creativity.
creativity.
Yeah,
That's one,
that's
yeah.
summarizes it.
Yeah.
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 Awesome.
Well, we
I feel like we just taste. Yeah, the kids are there.
They're so
given. Well, we can't thank you enough for coming, and we know we love the fact that we could squeeze you in, and we know you guys are busy. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
It's just edible.
have to come.
Yes.
For sure.
I'll have to coordinate. Between a
Oh, it's
2-month-old and
Yes.
That's amazing.
all ages.
Oh, no worries.
Yes.
So I can bring
You're
my
a-
baby to have. You love it. Remember, I was in the boardroom with my kid when she was little. I was like, nothing's gonna change if nothing changes. So bring your new kid.
Children, and even with the
You can. I think it's just the material sometimes may not be appropriate. So that's a decision that a baby's watching.
okay.
I mean, some
A 10-year-old may not want to hear some of life's toughest lessons in the way they're told. That would be up to you.
Yeah.
But certainly like a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
We encourage people to bring their teens for sure. I think a teenager is for sure.
We're gonna link everything below. So if you want to get tickets, everything is below. You can find both of them. But it's been such a pleasure
Yes,
having you
thank
both.
you
I
so
feel like
much.
so much
we
for
got
coming
to
on.
taste a little bit of life through you both today.
Yeah.
And we're excited for everything that's happening in both of your lives. And one last thing, what do you see? Well, actually, you know what? We'll save it for the next podcast. We love you guys, and we're excited for everything. Yeah.